What's up, YouTube? Tim is here. Now, 2024 saw the release of lots of very disappointing films. Films I was actually interested in or was looking forward to, but turned out to be a letdown. Now, this is actually a different list from my top worst films that I'll be doing like before the new year. But here are my official top 10 most disappointing films of 2024. All right, number 10 is Unfrosted. I really want to like this one, because it is Jerry Seinfeld, who I do like Seinfeld. I mean, if you guys ever never watched Seinfeld, definitely one of the most iconic shows of all time. And it actually sounds like I'm always a sucker for these movies about like how something was created, like whether it's a film about Facebook or a film about McDonald's or whatever. I'm always fascinated with that type of stuff. So I've had some hopes for this one. It really wasn't all that funny. Didn't click with the characters. It just really was absolutely abysmal. The performances wasn't great. It's a shame too because I like Jerry Seinfeld, but this just wasn't a good one for him. All right, number 9 is The Front Room. Now I don't really do. Obviously, I like A24 horrors, but not every time an A24 horror movie will click. Last year was, of course, Bo's Afraid, and this year was The Front Room. I was really looking forward to this because you had Brandy coming back to the horror genre for the first time since I Still Know What You Did last summer. The trailers look really decent. So I had some hopes for this one here, and there was lots of cringy moments in this. Like, there was something, like, with the guy that did something with his mom. I'm like, what was I watching? Like, seriously. That was I'm not going into any details, but if you guys watch the film, yeah, a grown man does something with his mama. I'm just gonna put it that way. Uh, yeah, not going into any details, but it's pretty cringy there. But yeah, and, even the lady in this, played by Catherine Hunter, I admit she was so cringy at times too. No disrespect to the actress, which I feel bad because she's literally on. Catherine Hunter's literally on this list twice, but I'll get you that here in a bit. But still, yeah, this just wasn't a good one. All right, number 8 is Sassquash Sunset. Now, I actually wanted to like this one because I thought the trailers looked really interesting, looked pretty heartfelt. It just felt like a weird Harry the Hendersons. But holy cow, this movie was horrible. It was completely boring, a complete snore fest. I did not care much for the characters at all. I mean, you had Jesse Eisenberg, who thankfully had real pain as well. He did great with that. Riley Keough, I adore her, but nothing about this really interested me. Although the makeup was probably good, but yeah, other than that. All right, number 7 is Argyle. Now, this is another movie I was excited for. Despite the King's Men not being so great, I was like, how could Argyle be? The trails look cool, looks entertaining. I love the cast. You got Henry, you got my boy Henry Cavill. You got Bryce Dallas Howard, Sam Rockwell, Sam Jackson. I mean, how could you you had Dua Lipa, who I adore. What could go wrong? A lot went wrong with this thing, and it was an awful one. It was not all that fun. It wasn't even all that funny. The dialogue was terrible. Henry Cavill's hair, this movie's called Argyle, but Henry Cavill's not even the lead in this. So yeah, it's not a good one at all. And of course, it even set up a franchise, which ain't no way we're getting a franchise. All right, number 6 is The Strangers Chapter 1. Now, I really quite enjoy the Strangers movies. Like, the first one was good, but I actually quite enjoy Pray at Night more than most people have. So I had some hopes for the new Strangers, for this whole new Strangers trilogy. After seeing this one, I don't know if I have any hopes for the second two. And Strangers Chapter 1 just wasn't so good. It wasn't all that scary. The characters did some really horrible, dumb stuff. It's very predictable at times. Like you could definitely tell who those killers were. Like at the beginning of the film. Like once they get you that restaurant, there's only few people there you expect who probably the killer is. So what they're planning to do with part 2 and 3, beyond me. But yeah, I wish part 1 was better. But anyway, maybe part 2 and 3 will be better. But no, no. All right, number 5 is Here. Now, this was of course directed by Robert Zemeckis, who I love. Robert Zemeckis, he's gave some of my favorite films of all time. Back to the Future, Forrest Gump. I love Castaway, so I had some hopes for this one. I even enjoyed his Pinocchio movie. Sue me, his Pinocchio movie was awesome. So his only bad film, in my opinion, recent was probably The Witchers. Like that, his Witchers adaptation was terrible. And What Lies Beneath is not. I'm not really a fan of What Lies Beneath, to be honest. But he's actually done more better films, in my opinion, than poorly films. So, and I thought this looked really decent. You had Tom Hanks coming back with Robert Zemeckis. You had the Forrest Gump team coming back, same writer. I'm like, oh yeah, this was one of my anticipated films of this year. Let's go. And oh boy, it was a snooze fest. Probably, I'm not gonna lie. This is Robert Zemeckis' worst film. This was worse than The Witchers. I'll probably rewatch The Witchers before I rewatch this. It's not so good. Like, didn't care much for the storylines. The aging on Tom Hanks and Robert Wright was terrible. I'm like, you couldn't get younger actors to play them. I mean, do Tom Hanks and Robert Wright not have kids? They could have cast in this, but whatever. I guess they could get find a way to get Chet Hanks to play the young Tom Hanks in this. But anyway, all right. Number 4 is Megalopolis. Now I probably shouldn't add this to my list because it could easily hit with the behind the scenes stuff and or but I still had some hopes for this one because it was in my top not just top 10. It was in my top 5 anticipated films of the year. It was directed by one of the greatest there is, Francis Ford Coppola. Adam Driver. You got Aubrey Plaza, Shia LaBeouf. John Voight. Some great cast members in this. This is one of the worst motion pictures I have ever sat through this whole year. A bit of a spoiler alert for my worst of the year list, but Megalopolis is a dumpster fire. One of the worst Francis Ford Coppola movies of all time. The dialogue and characters was terrible. I mean, the effects was horrible. This movie is just abysmal. It's so shame too because I love Francis Ford Coppola. He gives some of the greatest films there is, but yeah, I wish he gave us a better film. And the thing is, no matter how bad this movie was, I'm still excited for his next one. That's how great Francis Ford Coppola is. All right, number 3 is Venom: The Last Dance. The first two Venom movies are the only one, the Spider-Verse movie of these Sony Spider-Man films I quite enjoy. The villain spin-offs, whatever you want to call them. But I really thought Venom: Last Dance was awful. The only good thing about this about was the chemistry between Eddie and Venom. Like when Eddie and the Asima Venom are on screen, it works. Uh, Other than that, it's just abysmal. It did not really do much, make me enjoyable here. It was completely boring at times. Like not great villains either. Performances here was terrible. I mean, it's just a really terrible one, and it's a shame too because the Venom movies is the only ones that made this Sonyverse should be good. But anyway, speaking of Sonyverse, number 2, Craven the Hunter. I This is actually one I actually had some hopes with. I had more hopes for this one than I had with Madam Web and Morbius. It had a better director on board, a better writer. Aaron Taylor Johnson is terrific. So I'm like, okay, could this be at least better? Wah wah. It wasn't. Craven the Hunter is also in my top 10 worst of the year list. It's a horrible, horrendous film, to say the least. I'm not gonna lie. It's probably the worst out of the it's probably the worst out of the Spider-Man villain verse. I would rewatch Madam Web over again before I watch this. And if you guys ask, where's Madam Web? I'm not. I was actually disappointed with Madam Web because in order to be disappointed in something, you have to actually be looking forward for the film. I can't say I was all that excited for Madam Web, so I was interested in it, but I wasn't really excited for it at all. So yeah, but Craven, I actually had some hopes with because a great director, a great writer, great actor on board, but yeah, it was just not so good at all. And I hope this does not affect JC Chen's directing career because he's a terrific director. Just had a bad day in the office with this one. And my number one pick is Joker Filet Diox. Now, thing is, when I do my top 10 worst of the year list, Joker is actually not going to be on that list. Like, uh, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't hate Joker Folie Diox as most people did. Like, people are calling it one of the worst films of the year, one of the worst films of the decades, and all, one of the worst sequels. I don't think it's that bad. Like, yeah, it's not good, but it's not that bad. It's just disappointing because I was really looking forward to see this. I love the first Joker. It was so much fun. I just adored it a lot. Walking Phoenix winning his Oscar for that was good. So I had some hopes for this one, and it just didn't really do anything for me. It's just nothing about it really all that fascinating. Like, there are some scenes of this I did appreciate, like the Gary scene in the courtroom, probably one of the better parts in this whole film. Some of the music was okay, but other than that, yeah, what the gods did to Joker is just horrible. Yeah, and of course, it really retconned what made the first Joker so good, and of course, it was a flop too. So there's that. But yeah, that's pretty much it there. Here is my quick rundown. Number 10, Unfrosted. 9, The Front Room. 8, Sassquash Sunset. 7, Argyle. 6, The Strangers Chapter 1. 5, Here. 4, Megalopolis. 3, Venom the Last Dance. 2, Craven the Hunter. And number 1, Joker Folie the Uggs. Let me lead you guys. What are some of your most disappointing films of the year? Drop comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for more notification. This is Super